Did that link.
It says preparing to live stream the meeting, but
Right,
setting
right, right.
YouTube live, but it
We
did.
are set up for lobby, correct? That's turned on now.
Well, I turned it on, but I am
That
working.
link. No, it's not lobby.
Preparing
He
to live.
unmutes it.
Okay, we are live on
Right, right, right.
YouTube
It
live.
went live. It's
We are.
showing it went live.
Okay, all right. Maybe it worked. Okay, well that's good. Okay, so we're now live
Go,
on
go, go to YouTube. Go to YouTube now.
Welcome
You have to
everybody.
go. You have to go to YouTube. It's not live yet. Nobody. You have to go to YouTube. Press go live.
No, I did.
Click.
It is live.
You are on YouTube Live now. I
We're
can
live,
see
yeah.
it on my phone.
Hi everybody. Hello, CNN. Welcome. Okay, and now I'm going to click record here. Record here. Record on this computer.
This meeting is being recorded.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is fractalu.com and fractalfield.com. And we have all our very important people here. Tufan is here, our co-host. Welcome, Tufan. And Aaron Kessler is here, our host for X and Twitter. And Ralf Otterpohl, our special guest speaker of the evening, has joined us. Hello, Ralf. Welcome. All
right.
And so, yeah, we're just getting ready. So we've got a couple minutes to go here. Russ was helping us set up to synchronize the live stream. I hope that live stream worked on the synchronize thing. Russ, we did our best.
Yeah, we tried. We tried.
Yeah. So let's see. Announcements for the evening. Tufan and Anna are coming from Turkey to visit us tomorrow. We're excited.
It's going to be a party.
And actually, a week from today, we're having a gathering here. Let me see if I pin this. We're having a gathering here, which is working on the plan for the Cosmic School. And by the way, our friend from Finland, Ika, has checked in and wants to join that and has real input. His lady is a medical doctor, Tufan, and I'm hoping that Lisa from Ireland comes with her alternative healing school project plan and joins us that day with Carlos from Barcelona. So it's going to be quite a weekend of fun.
Tino as well.
Oh yeah, and Tino is coming. That's right, from Valencia. Yes, indeed. So we're just kind of warming up. We're supposed to start in a few minutes, but maybe should we start with some announcements, Tufan? What do you think?
Sure. Hi, Ralph. Thanks for joining us again. By the way, Ralph will be also joining our October conference this year, and he will be giving another of his beautiful geomancy work on the ground. Last year, it was so beautiful. Everybody enjoyed it so much. We had so many great feedbacks from that. So we are very happy to be having you again this year in October with us. And next week at fractalu.com, we will be talking with Terry Burns about the origins of the physics of consciousness movement. It's going to be a historical walkthrough between Dan and Terry. So we're going to have fun. And these are all for the time being, Dan.
Yeah, actually, Terry is a specialist on the history of our work in research with alchemy with Vincent Bridges, and also the history of Dee and Kelly and the Alchemy Research Group on Facebook. Terry kind of wrote the book on John Dee. And so when Vincent Bridges and I were starting all that work in the States originally, our interactions with all those colorful characters, Puharich and Dan Chesbrough, we have stories to tell. So yeah, next Sunday is going to be a walk down memory lane of the physics of consciousness movement, all the VIPs and the fun story with Terry is actually one of those historians who actually does dates. And then now to say a little bit more about Professor Ralf Otterpohl, who's with us here. I just wanted to say, Ralf, that the fact that you joined our conference last year here in person in South France was life-saving in my view, because we had all those wonderful lectures and events indoors, which were great. But Ralf was the one who was actually able to get people out in the field doing hands-on experiential, feeling the feeling of the geobiology dowsing work and, healing the land work and real work in geobiology and regenerative agriculture on the land. So we're so excited that Ralf is going to be doing that again this year, and we're planning a bit more time for Ralf. And Ralf, you're bringing your lady as well. Is that true?
Oh, yes, we come, both of us, and she's a geomancer too.
Oh, that's great. It was a real family affair there. So we have a great party. So everybody should know. So that our big event this year, our fifth international sold out, quote unquote, Science of Consciousness Conference in South France, October 9 to 14. Same kind of schedule as last year, same venue, same wonderful chef and food and party. And the website again is fractalfield.com/2025 for our major international conference this year, October 9. And it's still gorgeous here in South France, usually at that time. And yet the summer rush is over. It's beautiful fall. It should be absolutely wonderful, we think. So
If anyone is interested, they can just send an email to info@geometricmodels.org and we'll be happy to help.
So Tufan is coordinating organization. I'm getting way too old and crotchety to do all the organizing. No, but Tufan is very organized. He's the organizer because he's organized. So check with Tufan and he can arrange everything for you. The information is on the website and the contact is Tufan. So on that note, with our announcements over, Professor Ralf's subject tonight is regenerative agriculture and Ralf?
Yeah, I will talk about the etheric hygiene on the level of the land, but also in houses and also for ourselves. So it's the same things we need to do in all these fields, and the methods are similar. And I will talk about the fundamental thing that we need to revive our soils around the world to enable a good future, to enable a good development. And this requires to raise the energy levels, to take care of the energy levels, and also to know how to raise the humus levels and how to get really, really great food that is nourishing also our consciousness so that we can rise in our own development. And it's all linked together. And so that's a beautiful journey I'm on myself. And so we are really glad that so many people are interested. Just yesterday, I did a geomancy class on the coast of the Baltic Sea. There were around 80 people there. So the interest in these topics is going through the roof. And this is a very good sign that people are really seeing that we need to do something.
That's so wonderful. So Professor Ralf brings, academic credentials here, many years as a professor teaching regenerative agriculture and also water treatment. And Professor Ralf has done some lectures with us where he teaches about how ghosts and ancestor spirits, plasma entities, when they're stuck in the land, affect the fertility and how to release that. It's amazing work. Last point I'd like to make here, as Professor Ralf is about to begin, that I'm pleased about is that we think we've developed a serious electrical engineering to talk about, rather than just call it an energy field. We think we know what this field is, that when you have access to compression in your aura related to bliss and emotional coherence, and when you're at a magnetic line cross, for example, you get that compression in your aura, and at that point, your body emits more coherently into what we're calling the longitudinal array, which sometimes is called scalar, and that compressional field, then the compressional component of the longitudinal wave bounces at the nearby fractal symmetry nodes. You could think of them as the sacred sites or the magnetic line cross points. And that becomes the array, call it ancestor memory, collective unconscious. The point is the process that gets you radiating coherently into that array, lucid dreaming, astral travel, remote viewing, is actually a compression event where you measurably then propagate into longitudinal coherence. So suddenly all these things that Professor Ralf is talking about are now not just a woo-woo language. This is actual electrical engineering. For example, we now know the frequency signatures that help people trigger ability to lucid dream, and by implication, astral travel and remote view. It's implosive compression frequencies that actually predict when the body is able to do these things. So now we have a more precise electrical engineering to underpin these important lessons that Professor Ralf is teaching. So, excuse, that's just my little enthusiasm moment. Ralf, please begin. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm glad you are bringing up all these issues, and I'm so grateful that I could really learn a lot. So this is something what is making this a lot more cohesive. So we have the knowledge, the background, and we find the principles. So it's basically the engineering, proper engineering, to bring all the loose ends together. And all these fields are like worked out by very different people, but they have their fields, but they don't look across. They can't talk to each other. So normally geomancers don't talk to people in agriculture. And scientists in general seem to like push away all these things for reasons that are more in dogma than in a scientific method, because the scientific method is about exploring what we don't know yet. And so we want to understand what is going on. So a real scientist would be open to these issues, and then we can come to a common ground. And the work of Dan is so important because this is like building a bridge to science, and the structuring that we are sort of doing like all together. So we bring in our different fields, our experiences, and we weave it into a bigger structure that makes something that is bigger than the single fields are by and in themselves. And so that's really, really beautiful. And this is something what is absolutely needed. We are still in the beginnings, and basically it is about creating a good future. And that's something what my goal is, my personal goal. Still working on my book on a blueprint for a golden age. And I'm very glad that Dan and Valerie have gone through it. And it will be sort of also integrating a training course. So people who want to go further will find notes by Dan, and so they can dig deeper into the different topics. So it's sort of, you can do your master degree also by reading this book and following the links, because this is something where people that are really open-minded, they don't find universities very attractive anymore, because they will be fed with dogmatic stuff that is dead, and you don't want to sit on a dead horse. And actually I'm in a horseback riding facility on the roadside because I had to pull in. I didn't get home, and so I'm in a funny venue here. That's normally a cafe, but gratefully I could come in here and do my lecture. Otherwise, I would have been on the road. And so this is something where we should really shift to systems that do really integrate vital energy, that should integrate the life force. And life force, as we all know, is the most precious resource in the universe, probably. So at least on this planet, because this makes us alive, and we can be growing in our consciousness. And if our vital energy level is low, we get stuck, we get depressed, and children cannot develop in an environment where the energy is low, and they will tend to go to be more violent and so on. And interestingly, also plants don't develop well when they lack vital energy flow. So it's everywhere you look, vital energy flows are key to health, to good development, and also for soil health.
Yes, there's all those amazing new books out showing that when children pray to the seeds germinate measurably better and farther and faster. And that was used to be regarded as a mystery. But now actually we know specifically the electrical engineering of why children praying to seeds, because focused attention has been measured. It's electrically centripetal. And we know also that electrically centripetal longitudinals, for example, plasma fire, fire A, Therapy, also affect seed germination. So it is the centripetal quality of the attention that causes the seed to germinate better, related directly to what Professor Ralf was talking about life force. It is specifically centripetal, literally implosive.
Absolutely. And this is something what we can bring into application now. And that's the beauty of it. This is not some weird theory, but it's something what we can really use in everyday life. And that's something what is crucial. And so we bring these things together in a structured way. And with a structured approach, we can sort of make sure that we get very good energy flows everywhere, that the soil will develop, the plants will develop, children will develop, also, the whole development of consciousness is supported. And for that, we need an excellent situation. And today, with all the mobile fields, with all the different disturbances, we have a less than optimum situation for our own development. And so we have to find ways of keeping our energetic integrity. And this is basically a key that we understand this. And this is what Dan and me as well in between call etheric hygiene. And it's a very nice word. And this is really something what is basic stuff. So we don't live in the dirt anymore on the physical level, but we absolutely are stuck in the mud in the etheric field. So we are mostly living in situations that are absolutely incredible, and only because most people can't really perceive that and are ignorant to what it makes to themselves and to their plants and surroundings, we still live in the mud. And so there are clear pathways out. And that is something I want to start with. So to say, how can we get out of the mud? Is that okay?
Yeah. Yes, we've been saying, the word heaven actually means charge distribution efficiency or fractality, which is our array. And so everything that affects perfected distribution, which would be electrosmog or metal and steel, things that prevent charge from distributing perfectly in a rose-like fractal, everything that prevents that actually prevents consciousness and growth. And the more we become aware of that, we actually know how to make sacred space and fertile space based on.
Sorry to cut you off. Just a small note. There's a participant in the group called Hacker. If you want to remove that, just a small note.
That's Russ. Russ just said that's him. So,
so no worries there. Fine. It's a funny name. Yeah, but I would say a few words about the methods that I have developed to take care of etheric hygiene for our bodies, for our houses, and for our fields. And as I said, it's the same basic principles because we have the correct structures. And so this is something where obviously we have to take care of the body itself. So it needs to be well nourished with high nutrient density in the food. And one of the most important instruments in this field is the refractometer. And it's the most simple instrument, costs near nothing. And you put some drop of plant sap onto this machine. It's not even a machine. and then you look through it into a bright light, into the sunlight, and then you can see right away if this plant is high in nutrient density, because that correlates 100% with the sugar content. And we like to compare the leaf sap. So we squeeze the leaf of the vegetable we want to eat, and then we can check, okay, is this high or low? And it's basically just sugar content. So if you get your refractometer, make sure sugar content in percent, 0 to 20% or 0 to 35%. And then you can go to your favorite organic shop and show them which vegetables are really nourishing us in a way that our consciousness can develop. It's known since 100 years that low quality food disables our spiritual development, it disables our brain functions. And this is the most basic thing. And what we see almost around the world is a decline in the food quality. And this means that people are losing their brain capacity. At least they lose their brilliance. And we get less and less brilliant people in many countries of the world today. So, and even I'm ashamed to say, Germany is leading in the decline in intellectual capacity by far. It's a dramatic drop. And I'm pretty sure that the lousy food, people buy more and more prepared food, industrial food, that the loss of food quality is a major reason, besides lousy schools and all the other things. And that's not acceptable. And this is the tool to check if we get good food. And it must be fresh to have the vital energy. Now we enter the realm of the etheric, because it's not only the nutrient density, but at the same time, we need a high level of the biophotons that are measurable. You can measure them. So a fresh plant, if you cut a leaf and put it into a dark chamber, it emits light. And this light is vanishing after a few hours. So the food we eat is mostly more than a few hours out of the ground, and it is not having the life force that we like. So it's good to eat from your garden and to have like fresh food that is going directly to your table. And so that's also part of the development. And so
a short story, Ralf, just to add to that, for years we worked in the biophoton lab with Fritz Pop there in Netherlands, but we were developing a parallel technique, the flameinmind.com/lifeforce measurement, the parallel is interesting. When we measure a tomato or an egg for freshness, we were measuring its ability to organize its weak electric or capacitive field. And when its electric field was organized, you can measure the frequency signature, which obviously would be a Schumann implosion kind of thing. So whether you're because measuring for photon emissions also is a little bit difficult. Of course, measuring the capacitance of a fresh egg, we found out that it's very hard to do that unless there's no electrosmog in the building. But the point was that the life force that Ralf is referring to is literally that egg or that tomato is imploding and radiating a coherent field. And that is the food. That's the point, that implosive force.
Absolutely. And I have met Professor Pop. He's not among us any longer, but at the time where he was working, he was a great man. He worked from his heart. So this was not some man who just did something without being involved. He really loved to help that the life force in people is increased, that we eat better food. And I'm really grateful for him. And it's also great, Dan, that you developed something that is leading in the same direction. It's besides measuring the nutrient density, this is one of the crucial factors. And this leads to decentralization. We need decentralization because it doesn't make sense to get food from around the world that is long dead. And it's necessary to develop good food sources in our environment, in near the place we live, maybe in our own gardens, and have the connection to nature with this. And that's part of my vision for future that I describe in my blueprint book, what will be ready soon with like all the commands from you from the last conference. And so that's something where we have a plan. And looking at the quality, the food density, means at the same time, if the nutrient density is high, the bricks value is high, this is really good soil. So this is only possible in living soil. And now, living soil as a prerequisite requires that we don't dig all the time, that we bring in a good biology, that we have the soil fungi in place. And the soil fungi are absolutely crucial. And this is something where I have an interesting story about the mycorrhiza fungi. And I met people in Switzerland who specialized on this, inoculating trees and plants with these mycorrhizal fungi. And as you may know, there is something that is called the die-off of olive trees in the Mediterranean region, what is considered a big tragedy. And I can assure you there is no die-off of trees, but there is a lot of dead soil that trees can't bear. So the trees die because of bad soil. And so the way out of that is very simple. You inoculate these olive trees with the specific mycorrhizal fungi. They are very specific. There are hundreds or even thousands, and you must pick completely the right one. And these guys from Switzerland did exactly that in a huge farm that was losing their trees, basically. And so the trees recovered after they did this. And now comes the kicker. So this is something where after the next harvest, they sent their olive oil to the lab. And normally they had the basic nutrient that is counted in a level of 250. So this is considered a very good olive oil. And now, after they inoculated with the mycorrhizal fungi, this oil, the first lab said, well, we can't send you a result. The machine doesn't work properly. Second as well. And the fourth lab that was already from Italy to USA. And then the result came, the value that is normally around 250 was almost 2,500. The consequences of this are very, very far-reaching. It means that our best premium olive oils are crap. If we inoculate the tree to be in a natural state with the mycorrhizal fungi, they will be so rich in nutrients that it's actually a remedy. And this farm sells this as a remedy now at very, very high prices instead of talking about this. But that's why we talk about it. So to have a good future, we need to improve the soil quality, and the soil fungi, including the mycorrhizal fungi, are key to that. This, once again, is the simple instrument to show if this works. And
Ralf,
is there a web link for mycorrhizal fungi options that we can share?
There are only very few companies that sell the real stuff. There is a lot of betrayal in this field. So you normally get something that is not what is written on it, or not the living species. But people that are interested can send an email, and I would give a link to one company in Europe. But else you need to check. So it's really an issue that is sort of not on the agenda for very many people, even though it's crucial for our well-being and the development of our brains. So we can survive with low-quality food, but we cannot thrive.
Ralf, Valerie had a related question. Is the mycorrhizal fungi related to the famous Japanese EM, effective microorganism?
No, that's a different story. But it's also enriching the soil with the organisms that are important. And there is one way to introduce mycorrhizal fungi in a culture that doesn't develop well. You go to a farm that has a very, very good quality. You see this by either bricks, but also by very deep green leaf that is sort of having a shiny surface because it's waxy. So that means this plant is really, really healthy. And then you get a bit of soil from that farm and inoculate your own soil. Keep it moist, make it quick. And then these mycorrhizal fungi can develop. So it's basically bringing nature back into our cultivated plants.
Did you see, Ralf, that Dan McDonald asked about, is there a specific genesis name for this fungi, or is that too complicated for in other words, the actual fungi name? I suppose for different trees or olives.
There are so many. It's really a big story. And you can refer to Dr. Elaine Ingham. She's working on that very, very much. And she's teaching this, and you will find a lot. And also, if you research mycorrhizal fungi, you will find a lot of information. But the commercial stuff is often unreal. So you don't find a lot of really, really good stuff that is really very specific. So going to nature and looking where you have the good soil with this same plant, it's very specific.
This Dr. Elaine Ingham, is it Ingham? Where is she located? Where is she?
She's in the US, and she's world famous. You will find her in Soil Food Web. Soil Food Web, probably .org or .com. I don't know.
Soil Food Web.
Yeah. Soil Food Web, and she's great. And so with enriching the soil, we have the chance to get to a very, very good food, and also to find a way of like improving our own health and our development. Yeah, that's the one that is in the chat now. Thank you. And
thank you, Anna.
Yeah, and now there is a really, really amazing thing, and that was like hitting me absolutely incredibly. This is that if you do everything right in the fields, you put in the fungi, the proper fungi, you do your compost teas, also like Elaine Ingham is world-class in that. And you take care for your plants, and you don't plow deep anymore. You bring in the green manure and all that. Everything that you do is correct, but still your crops don't thrive. And we find that. I talked to many farmers, and I had this situation, and I take this as an example. It's a very interesting story. We have one farm in southern Germany that works in a regenerative way since around 30 years. So the soil is absolutely great. So this is Dietmar Rapp, great man. He loves life, and he is really radiating what he does. And what is part of high energy also in the fields, of course. And we did a conference there with him, and I was approached by a neighboring farmer, and he told me, well, what is this? I do all the same stuff like Dietmar, and with my farm, it doesn't really develop well. So what can I do? And of course, it's the energetics then. That's my experience. And I don't know this since a long time, even though I'm a geomancer since a very long time. But only now I understand that we need to have a high level of vital energy in the fields in order to have the crops developing. And as more and more energy, vital energy, is stolen today, so the situation is dramatic, we need to stop the theft in order to thrive. And this is one of my messages. And now in this farm, the next day, I went there and we checked what is the problem here, why the energy was really low. I measured this. And then I ask, and that's part of the methods now. I don't check everything, but I ask, what is the main reason that the energy is so low in this field? And then you find something where you can really do something in a simple way. If you check everything, you are lost because there's so many factors and so many levels. But checking what is the main reason for the low energy in this field. And then I check, is this parasitic entities? Is this the ghosts of deceased people? Is this dark angels? Is this synthetic life forms? So there's a limited number of options here. So in this case, I checked what is the main reason, and I found, well, the ghosts of deceased people. And then I asked my friend there, and he said, oh, on this hill, the gallows was here for a very long time. So people were getting hung there. That seems to be the most traumatic way of death that is possible, because these people are so traumatized that it's very hard to get them out there. But it's possible. And so we went there and it felt horrible. And then I asked entities from the source of this universe to help. So they come in, they give a hand to the deceased ones that want to be released. And with a bit of explanation, then I asked these entities to lead them further to their own pathway, and so that they can find their own further way. And this is like releasing stuck ghosts. That's one of the big tasks of our generation now, because it was ignored so long that there is nearly an overload of stuck souls, even from hundreds of years back, because so few people have taken care so far. But now it's getting better because more and more people look at that. Then we released these deceased ones that were like dying on this gallows. And with that, the energy level was rising. And now I'm sure that on this farm, the plants will grow better, and that will be measurably better. So this is a crucial factor. In my point of view, the energetic integrity of the fields in the farm is the major factor. Everything else comes next. And this factor is normally not looked at. It was in the past. So people were sort of giving prayers to the fields. And with this, that was something where stuck ghosts could be released with the prayers and things like that. So that was something what was common until around 150 years back, when this was all pushed aside by materialistic thinking. And that is used to be dominant, but now, like, we get to a new worldview that we built all together, don't we?
And you know, religions, they went through the fields, blessing the fields. That was normal in those days. But now that, you know, as an electrical engineer, we can understand a lot better, you know, the famous story that when a Tibetan saint dies, you see rainbows. It's documented. We know why, because the saint added centripetal force to the magnetic line, which is why rainbows exist, actually. And Aboriginals all knew that the ancestors inhabit the song lines. Well, we now know what that means electrically. It means perfected distribution, where the song line is singing, versus charge isolation, where the ghost is angry and stuck. And charge isolation is the opposite of fertility and the opposite of heaven, actually. So the electrical engineering fits the story.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is, besides these factors of parasitic entities that steal energy, besides the stuck ghosts that are sort of so disturbed that they also disrupt the energy flows there. And besides that, we need to look at the ley lines, the flows of energy in the fields, and see if there are disturbances. And there we are having a lot of disturbances with railway lines, with construction, road construction, and very commonly today, you may know or not that our government in Germany is sort of leading us on a path of self-destruction, and part of this self-destruction is to build wind energy units almost everywhere. They want to fill every last piece of nature. They are cutting down old forests for that. So there is really parasitic entities behind them that are leading them to the way of how to suck energy. You plant these units near a ley line, and then they can suck energy from that.
So it's people need to realize that the steel in the wind generator, the metal in the railway line, and when they put these big roads in, they're not aware that they're cutting the Earth's key magnetic line, which is like a bloodstream, an artery. So we can understand the physics so much better now. Ralf, Russ is just asking, can you say a little bit more about how the stuck souls were released? Is that possible, or?
Absolutely, yes. Of course, there are many different ways. So it's just my way of doing it. I have learned to get away from all systems that have been developed. So I don't address like Archangel Michael or like entities that are like in our knowledge base, so to say. I have learned that our strength is in the center of our hearts. With our hearts, we are connected to the source of this universe, and we are part of it, and that's beautiful. So that's home.
Right. But was there like an actual sequence or an algorithm that you were using to raise that vibration and get that heart coherence to open the portal for these beings to go?
Yeah, I'll say how I do it. So this is something I address the source of this universe as being part of it. So that's my admission, so to say. With the power of my connection to the source of this universe, I ask appropriate entities to come here to help release these ghosts of the deceased people. And then I sense that these entities come in. And then I say you to the deceased ones, you deceased ones, you are dead since a long time. Many don't know it. You are dead since quite a while. Now there is your chance to be led on to find your own way, to release everything you need to release. And then I tell them, if you want to take this help, and by the way, the chance may not come for a very long time again. And those that want to take this chance, take the hands of these entities that are helping you. And so then I see that there is sort of, they take the hands. And then I say, and now you are led on, go on your own pathway, go now and go with love. And then you can feel that these entities are leaving. And if I'm with groups of people, there is sort of it's a big relief. Before that, you don't realize that this region is stressed. But when it's released, it's like you have noise, always noise. Somebody switches off and it's so quiet. And
so you're making the mediatory work, like the bridge between the two.
It's just, being a mediator for that. And in a similar way, I work with parasitic entities and dark angels, I also ask the specific entities to come and help to bring these parasitic entities into a cloud of angels where they will be worked through and can also find release, can be released as well. But they have to face their theft. So they are stealing energy, what is absolutely not okay. They don't have their own energy. They live from stealing other energy, just like the parasites in the physical level. And they interact, by the way. And so then I tell them, take these parasitic entities, put them into this cloud of angels to be worked through, and also to find their release if they're ready, and do this now. So sometimes you really have to be a little bit harsh in order that this works, because some of them are so stubborn, they want to cling to stealing the energy, and this works beautifully. And this cloud of angels, this comes from the anthroposophes. So that's something what works nicely for me. And it's like facing the crimes for them, but then also the option to get free from that, because many of these entities are sort of tricked into that, or they did something wrong and they don't get out of that. And so that's a method that we can use for the fields, for ourselves, for our flats. And it's always the same. We ask for the right entities. Please come in and help. And the difference is, like with stuck ghosts, we address those and make it in a way that is appropriate to deal with dignity with these deceased ones. The stuck ghosts or dark angels, they are criminals and they need to be persecuted. So no discussion. So they will be grabbed, put into jail, so to say, the cloud of angels, where they will be facing their crimes, and they can find relief after a while. And so this is something what works very well. I have done this with very many people, and so this is something what I really love to do.
Ralph's story makes so much sense.
Going through here, so I'm very grateful. Danke, dass ich hier sein darf. So, as I said, just on the roadside, because I lost my mobile phone and I couldn't connect otherwise. And here I have nice Wi-Fi in this horse place.
I just wanted to say, Ralf, that, you know, comparing your story with so many spiritual teachers who talk about, you know, the indigenous would say Wakantanka or the Great Spirit. Modern spiritual teachers use the term connect with source. The point is that the more you identify with the energy of the collective intelligence, literally the pure intention of the perfectly shareable wave, you get the inertia at the center of implosion. And that's the heart center that Ralf is speaking about. And the physics works. There is where the greatest inertia to sort comes from, at the pure implosion center. And so once we realize that pure intention and being in the heart and the energy, the collective and the source all really mean something, you can see pure intention in the eyes, and then you get somewhere.
Absolutely. So I agree to that. And then back to the fields, because I'm in a farming area, and this is something where the energy flow in the fields is absolutely crucial. And I had an experience with planting trees, mulberry trees, and I planted at the same time. And one of the trees was getting this thick, very nice tree, 4 or 5 meters high, lots of harvest. Another tree planted at the same time, same soil, same sun exposure, and it was like as thick as my thumb. And so after I checked, took a few years that I looked into this from an energetic point of view. And so I realized the one was in a point where the energy was really flowing, and the other one was in the wrong place. So it was like where the energy was sort of very low. And so that tree did not develop despite otherwise favorable conditions over years. And it only went like to my chest, the other one 4 or 5 meters high. If you do this commercially, you can go bankrupt because you lose too much money. And so for farmers and gardeners, it's crucial to check the energy levels and to take precaution. One way is, as I said, so release stuck ghosts, take care that there are no parasitic entities sucking your energy. And the other issue is that I place my plants in a proper way so that they are in a place that has a good energy. And since I do that, I realize that if I do planting, I do it in a sense, in a way of sensing what is the appropriate place for this plant to have good energy flow. You can repair that later on, but we want to plant them in a place where the energy is good. So ideally, the field will be of high energy, but with single plants or trees, it's good to check if this place has the good energy for this plant to develop. And so I do this now, and it's sometimes just 5 centimeters, few inches to the right or to the left. And this place feels, wow, this is a great place for it. But besides, it's sort of sucking energy, the plant wouldn't develop. That's why people have the experience that the trees that grow from the seeds that have been spread with the wind, the seeds that develop, they are always in the right spot, because those that develop, they search for the energetic spot. And so as humans, we can mimic that. We can feel what is the right spot and work with nature on a level of consciousness. And that's the beauty of it. And then we will have a better result. We have a higher nutrient density. This has been measured. So when plants grow in high energy fields, the nutrient density is higher. And this is absolutely great, because this all plays together. Are there plants that thrive in low energy? Would they be parasitic? Well, for low energy, it's well known that cats are searching such places, so they seem to be other way around than most of us. But for plants, I wouldn't know. So what really thrives is snails and pests and so on. So where there is low energy, nature's way of eliminating those plants that grow in the wrong place is sending like slugs and pests and so on. So we think, okay, nature is harming us, but no, they want to take care that we don't get low energy plants, and that we realize to plant in the proper place. And then there will be slugs, but they will be in balance. I've experienced this. Last year we had a lot in Germany. And in my garden, I had taken care that energy is high in that field. There were a few, but they just walked through, ate a little bit, but they didn't do harm. So once again, it's the harmony in all of it that makes things develop. And so that's the general rule as I see it. And that's beautiful, because now we have a pathway. So taking care for etheric hygiene everywhere, making sure that we ourselves are good. We don't have stuck ghosts in our field. We don't have parasitic entities in our fields. That our fields are high in energy, our flats are high in energy. And once again, looking at what happens if we don't do that, then people get depressed, they get ill, they can't do what they came here to do. And these people are missing on the front lines of like developing a good future, because they fall back and like they look into their illnesses and they meet with others to talk about their illnesses. We all know these circles, and it's not a nice place to be. And so everybody is invited to join in, to take care of like the energy flows, take the responsibility for ourselves, for our environment. And it's a task that is ongoing. It's not fixing it and then it's good forever, but people in the region need to learn to have a feeling for the energetic integrity of the field.
Professor
And
Ralf, would you describe that process of finding the right spot for a plant or a tree similar to actually dousing 4 magnetic lines and making a magnetic map, for example?
You can perfectly use divining rods to do that, but you can also learn to sense this. So we can easily feel with the question in our mind, where is the right spot for this kale? And so then you go over it and you feel exactly, here, and you plant it there. So that's the way to do it with some experience. But to begin with, we can use dowsing rods or use a pendulum or whatever is our specific tool.
I just
we
wanted
have
to
a
say-
question.
Oh, I just want to say welcome to Aircrete. Harry and Scott Howard, old friends, are here. Glad you guys are here. Super. Go ahead, Tufan.
Anna asks if there are any crucial steps to follow before and after the ritual to prepare yourself and cleanse yourself.
Yeah, that's a good question, because we need to check if we are allowed to do this work in this place. Because sometimes an energetic situation has some reason, maybe for the owner to wake up to something. So we should always check, is it appropriate to the best of all? So to the like in all, is it okay in all aspects if we do release these stuck ghosts in this field, for example? For private property, we need the consent of the property owners. And so this is something what I consider a crucial preparation step. So can we do that? Normally, if we get somewhere, we are invited for specifically that. But especially for healing work with people, it's crucial to have the consent and to ask people if they are willing for like being healed from this and having entities taken out of their aura.
And how is your experience with Agnihotra in terms of releasing entities from the land?
Well, the Agnihotra is a very good tool, and it's done by millions and millions of people around the world, almost everywhere. And the beautiful thing is that the Agnihotra works even with people that don't have a lot of experience. So if they follow how it is done, and people that don't have a lot of knowledge of all these issues, still there is a huge energy field that is developing and that is doing healing work. And raising the energy in the fields will really make it something that is like not so easily attacked anymore. Because the good news is, once we have achieved some coherence, some energetic integrity, this is protected, because these parasitic entities, they need low energy to be able to grab something. Like a bacteria may need somebody who is really down to make an infection. So if you are healthy, energetically speaking, if we are in a high energy level, we are protected. And so this goes hand in hand. And that's the great news. So it's not a struggle forever, but it's making sure that we are not sucked out, that we keep being on a high energy level ourselves, our house, and our gardens and our surroundings. And this is something that is maybe a bit difficult at the beginning, because there may be some major disturbances. It's actually more common than a good situation so far, and it's getting worse. So that's the challenge, that with the rising energy, or with the energy intensity of our planet is increasing, so are the suckers. So there are more entities stealing the energy, and they make use of our ignorance. So most people are ignorant to that. So they make use of these people, and they make use of technology to steal energy. And these entities on like top management level, they are pretty powerful. And so they have a lot of influence on people that are like creating a wind park, so wind energy, and they think to make energy, but what they really do is that they create entry points for parasitic entities to grab the energy, to suck energy out. And the internet does the same. So if we sit on the internet as we do now, we get some energy that is sucked out, and it's a good practice that I do daily, checking my energy level. And when I've spent a lot of time on the internet or my cell phone, I breath this back. I breath this energy back because it's my energy. It's not okay with me that this is stolen. So I breath my energy back to myself. And often you see, wow, it's like I have more power now. So that's also one of the things we should look at.
The physics of Agnihotra does fit the story here very nicely. Also, that just as we've taught, that you have living plasma, the flame of the ghee, and the plasma of the dung burning, and then that plasma flame is lit. Hopefully, again, as Dr. Ralf would say, we found the magnetic sacred site, and then at sunrise, sunset, which is longitudinal. So you're actually participating, embedding in the array. And obviously, if the flame in your aura is bright, maybe you don't need that flame. But the physics is instructive and it fits the story.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. So let me check the time. I think we should like wrap up the story a bit. Is that right?
Well,
we've gone almost an hour.
Yes, we talked about having some questions. Ralf, why don't you tell them the title of your new book and where to get it, and a little bit about how to contact you also?
Yeah. So the big book release will be on our physical conference. Those people who are interested to be proofreaders and to give feedback, write me an email, and we will put the email down below so that you can find me, and I will send you a PDF for your own research, and with also asking for your feedback. And so we want to make this something good. And there is something that I found out with making the book. I checked the book energetically. And what I do now is energetic editing. And it's so beautiful. So whenever you make a text, if you write something or you create like a storyboard for video, check how much energy does the header have? How much energy does this paragraph have? And what I found, I was absolutely stunned. I just did this like funny idea, but then I checked the title, the old title of the book, Blueprint for a Good Future. The energy was like maybe 60%. That's not enough for a title of a book. So I checked Blueprint for a Golden Age. Wow, that has a lot of my energy. Maybe you can feel that. And so I went through header by header and paragraph by paragraph, and I had quite a few chapters that were not that good, or paragraphs where the energy was not really high. And then I went into this chapter. I asked, should it be shortened? Should I cut it out? Is there something unclear? And mostly for me, because I cannot write really so that people understand it well, it was very often I made it too complicated or something where people didn't get it. And invariably, you find these places. And then I go through the text again and I check which place is this? And then I found sentences that were sort of too long or entangled. And so I changed that, checked the energy again, and wow, the energy was high. And so this is something what is absolutely great. So energetic editing or whatever, geomantic editing, and this can be used for a lot of things, not only for writing books. And so the book is now titled Blueprint for a Golden Age. And the energy is already pretty high, but I'm still working on it. And I'm grateful for the feedback also from some of the friends that are participating today, the feedback from the book, the printed one that I brought to the last conference, and I got great feedback there. And so I built this in, but it takes time. And now it's getting ready. And the release will be in October in beautiful Pyrenees in southern France near Dan's place. And I'm looking forward to presenting it then again with a completely different energy level and also some new topics, and having sort of a educational setup where in the book, those that want to dig deeper, they find hints by Dan and some other hints where they can find educational material, like learn with Dr. Elaine Ingham in the Soil Food Web if you want to go deep into developing the soil. So where people can go if they don't want to be in boring university systems, because now we can rebuild this with AI, and we should stop calling AI artificial. That's a nonsense name that is taking our power away. This is technical intelligence. So that's very simple. It's not magic. It's something that is, well, a software tool that can be great. And there are tools developed today that have all the knowledge about permaculture, regenerative agriculture, healing with plants, nutrition, and all these issues. And these are tools that are open source and that can be implemented decentrally everywhere. And so we don't need universities anymore, because everywhere where we have such AI system, technical intelligence systems, we can have a group of people that agrees we will learn regeneration. We will learn like Dan Winter's techniques and so on. And this will be so much more interesting than following the boring stuff, as I said, the dead horse. And this is something what more and more young people find attractive. And the center that Dan and some others are planning is something I really love very much, because that's sort of making a reference point. And this can also go into the technical intelligence system, so that this can spread from the center. But the center would be something where this is fine-tuned, developed, and so on. So that's the beauty of this idea. And so I'm looking forward to what will be developed.
We're calling it the Cosmic School. We're having a meeting next week with Tufan here, and I'm sure that Ralf may join us on virtual, and we'll be talking about it in detail in the fall in October. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. Just to say, in the background here, there were some questions about where to study Agnihotra. Our Agnihotra presentation at our last conference is related to the group in Poland, agnihotra.pl, and then Tufan has also homatherapy.org. You know, it was said that the ones who did Agnihotra at Bhopal or Nagasaki, where the nukes were, they were actually saved. If you think of it, if you have created centripetal plasma force at where the magnetic lines cross in phase with sunrise, sunset, or even equinox, solstice, the four directions, anything that creates centripetal force and living plasma enhances that implosive circulation and embedding in the array. You know, the indigenous people call it the sacred four directions. There's lots of names for these principles. Agnihotra is just an introduction to the pure principle of what is in effect living plasma, and that's the point.
Yeah, and it's also like just today I met somebody who is very, very advanced in the Vedic traditions, and he was a master in the Vedic flight. And he knew a man who was in Bhopal, where this horrible chemical accidents was. Thousands of people were dead, and 10,000s were affected by this. He did Agnihotra at the same time where this incident happened, and in a large area, a few kilometers around this Agnihotra place, nobody was dying, nobody was harmed.
It's amazing. That's the point.
Absolutely
The story,
amazing.
yes, and that is centripetal plasma becoming self-organizing, and that is the origin of negentropy, what we call healing. So it's the symmetry of living plasma, and what made it alive, related to Dan McDonald's question here, do we call it mineral consciousness? Well, anything that embeds in the array.
Yeah, I love this word, and actually it's something where this example of the Bhopal incident and the Agnihotra shows clearly that the consciousness level is making the physical and not other way around. And so that also opens pathway like mineral consciousness. This opens up a huge, huge field of research. How to get in touch with the realm of the minerals in a field, how to address them, to release to the roots of the plants so that they have all the nutrients that we need, that we can measure then later. But like the conscious cooperation in all fields literally like the arable fields, arable land, like the gardens, but also in other fields, to get in touch with what we work with, to get feedback, to learn what is hurting you, what do you like to have, how can we support you, how can we cooperate. And that's so beautiful. And this is something what is great. So the word mineral consciousness, also that the mineral realm has a consciousness, so we can cooperate with this field. This is absolutely great. So maybe this is a good end note here.
Yes, it reminds me, I worked for years with the Theosophical group doing occult chemistry, Wheatley, Illinois, and so it was Murray Zupa, and anyway, so they had seen the subatomic particle, the Anu, and they looked at the subatomic particle, and if the subatomic particle was part of something in nature, the Anu would look impish and joyous. However, if that subatomic particle was part of something aluminum and dead, the subatomic particle would be like, totally dead. And so it's the context of a living array of nature which makes the subatomic particles themselves conscious and happy, hence mineral consciousness. So all of nature requires that embedding in that array. If there's not circulation, oops. So we want to thank you so much, Professor Ralf. That was wonderful. And any last minute questions here, Tufan? Are we doing okay, or what do you think?
We covered all. Thanks, Ralf.
Okay. Ralf, that was wonderful. You're a hero, sir.
Looking forward to
October. A lot of those that are listening are, well, part of the story, and we will do all the interesting things again in the next conference, where we have a lot more time also to spend time in the beautiful Pyrenees, in power places, to do geomancy work and a lot of healing work, and it will be great, and I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, great that we could do this, and yeah, all the best to all of you, and well, take responsibility for the etheric hygiene for yourself, for your house, for your region. And with that, signing out. Bye-bye.
Thank you. We'll provide Professor Ralph's contact in the notes, and you can meet Professor Ralf in October. So see you soon. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you,
Bye.
Blessings.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. It was wonderful. Bye.
Bye, everybody.